Good morning, or in this case afternoon. Getting back to the rocket stove builds, remember I told you that I was getting out of the boxes and getting into the rocket stoves. I was going to make 2 or 3 of them. Well, I'm going to make number 2 today, a different design. And we'll see how that goes. We know the one that I built in the last video works. And it works well, so we'll just set that aside. Till we need it someday. You know, it's 2022. You can use these rocket stoves with just a little bit of fuel, a little bit of timber, and they work really well. So, as long as I'm able to use my charcoal grill, I'm going to keep using it. But if I have to switch to the rocket stove, I'll have it. Or I'll have them. So we're going to make a different design this time. And this time, I'll give you the measurements and the things that you'll need to know to build it. So, stay tuned. So, the very first thing that we have to have is at least a 40-inch long piece of square tubing, 4x4, at least 8 gauge thick. We're good. We got at least 42 inches if you take off the top. I was going to use my Evolution chop saw, and I even went so far as to move the backstop back all the way, but the only problem with the 4x4 is it won't clear the back of it. So yeah, that's not going to work for this project. I was hoping it would, because it would be easier to cut it. Anyway, what I did was I measured up 20 inches from the 4x4 stock and drew a 45-degree angle, and I'm gonna mark it all the way around and cut it with the Metabo. What I usually do is, because sometimes we can't cut them as straight as we like because it's all by hand, is I clamp both pieces together and then use a grinder and match them up. So that's pretty good. Metal's very forgiving, so you don't have to be perfect all the time. Okay, I think we got it matched up pretty good. You know, like I said, when you cut this steel with by hand without a machine, this thick of steel, it's kind of hard to match up. So like I said, I just clamped them together and did some grinding, and they look good. So this was the 20 inches that I did, or thereabouts. Now that I, you know, cut it, it's give or take, it'll be fine. Yep, it's still 20 inches. And this one, I marked to have the total length of the stock to be 40 inches long. So I'm gonna see where I marked 40. So when I cut that, that'll be 40 inches. And then once, that's for the total before I cut anything. And then once I cut this piece of stock off, because it was longer than 40 inches, I'll cut this directly in half. That's the plan. I'll measure this and take half. And I'll just use the wet saw for that because it cuts straight when it's not going at any angles. I kind of lost my place where I was in the video because I had to stop for over an hour to fix my bandsaw. It's having tightening issues. I don't know if I corrected it or not, but I corrected it good enough. Good enough for now. So at least it's running. So I got that piece of steel that was 40 inches that I cut a 45-degree angle at 20 inches. And now I'm cutting the remainder exactly in half. Whatever half is. Hold on, I'll tell you what mine was. 11 3/4, give or take. So we're going to have two pieces that are both give or take 11 3/4. Thereabouts. You'll be good if you're in that range. I don't even know if this works, so we'll find out at the end of the video, won't we? Okay, we finally got that cut in half. Now, the part that has the 45-degree angle on it is going to be the bottom, or the air intake. That's what that's going to be. Now, the remaining piece here that's left that I cut off of this, I'm going to mark and cut at a 45-degree angle at the ends of it. And this is going to be positioned here, and it's going to be the fuel chute where you put your wood and stuff in. So I got to mark it and get it cut. We got that cut out, and I took a grinder and beveled the edges for welding, so I have a place for the welds to puddle down into. So now I'm going to mark a place on the stack, this being the stack, this the air intake and this the feed. I'm going to mark a place on the stack to cut out to put this right about, right about there. I'll show you. I want to make it at least an inch above, because I want to be able to get my welder down in there and weld that solid on the bottom of the feed tube and the air intake. Okay, I have it marked out, and I just traced it. I put the tube on there and just traced it. And I'm going to be careful to make sure I cut inside the lines instead of outside the lines, because if I cut outside the lines, then there'll be that gap. So, yep, get it cut. And don't worry about getting the feed tube and the air intake tube mixed up. They're the same, so it doesn't matter. Okay, now we have all three pieces cut out. So we finally get to weld after many hours because of breakdowns. But we're good. Okay, use lots of magnets. Make sure you get it straight before you weld it. You can get it on crooked. I've seen other people do it, not me though, other people. I'm satisfied. Let's start welding. Sometimes you run into that. To get things squared up, you have to fill in pretty sizable gaps. But that's nothing we can't do. And hopefully still make it look good. We'll get that filled in. That was a real sizable gap. We'll have to go back over that one a little bit. Got that baby filled in. And there it is. I took it outside and put it on the rock well and did some grinding just to kind of clean it up a little bit. Now, if anybody is going to do this in the future, it's really hard to get this nozzle this big down in there, you know, all the way. You got to put out a whole lot of wire. So what I did, that's same at the bottom there. You know, if you have flux core, you can take off the tip and get it in most places. We could take that off. But if you have shielding gas, then that's going to be hard to do. So what I did was I built it up a lot with weld. And I just took my die grinder to clean it up a little bit. I mean, as long as I was in the process of using the grinder and stuff anyway, I went ahead and just ran a die grinder along the top and along the bottom just to clean it up. And it seemed to do the trick. Seemed to come out pretty good. So we have the basic structure done. We're more or less done. It sits nice and flat. I'm still going to have to give it the once over with 110 grit. But we'll move on from here. I found a piece of flat stock here, and I'm going to make the cooktop for this rocket stove using this. I'm just going to cut the flat stock, make two pieces and kind of X them together and weld it to the top. I'll show you what I mean. I guess you can make it any size you want, but I'm going to make it 1 foot sections. So I'll cut these in sections. I'll drill a hole in the center of the stock, and I'll use the Metabo and cut slots in it so that I can fit them both down into each other. You know, I might be able to use this instead of the Metabo and not create as much dust, now that I think about it. Because it's -5 out right now. But we are supposed to get in the mid-40s in the next couple of days. Oh yeah! We'll use the magneto press to drill a pilot hole through both pieces of stock to start with. And I want to use a drill at least as thick as the thickness of the steel here to drill the pilot holes right in the center. Now I'm just going to stick these together like that. Just going to weld them together. So there it is. Just made an X. And now I'm going to tack it and weld it. Okay, here's where we're at. We got the top leveled out and put on. Put your pans and stuff on. Looks good. So now what? I'll tell you what, I need to find a piece of flat stock to be able to cover the feeder tube. So I'll cut a piece to cover that, and I'll make a hinge so I can open and close it, because I think that's the only way this one's going to work. So I found this scrap. I'll just trace it out, get it cut. Make it easier, get a scrap piece and trace it up. That'll be the door. And I found a hinge that I'll weld the hinge on too. Okay, I took it out and used the Metabo to cut, I don't know, smaller gauge, maybe 12 gauge, to make a cover for this. So I'll weld the hinge on, and then I'll smooth everything out. Just like that, I think. Nice handle on there. That's what I need to find, something to put a handle on, but we got the rough edges ground out, and we're making good progress, almost there. Yeah, buddy. Time to get in the steampunk scrap metal bin. See if we can find something to make a handle out of. Here's a piece of scrap metal I could just round the edges off of. Yeah, that'll work. Something to grab. There, that's what I like. No fuss, no muss. Just ground off the rough edges. We don't cut ourselves. And maybe put something on that little thing right there that stop the heat, or we could just use any implement, I guess. Anything you're cooking with, and just open it and close it, I guess. Yeah. Now technically, this is ready to go. It's done. But I'm going to do something different than most people on this particular model. I'm going to make some legs for it so that it's not tippy at all. Not that it is, but just to be safe. So I got to go find some stock to put on some legs for it. And I think I found just the right thing. I think I'll cut this in half, and that'll make the legs for it. Last step, boys. Okay, get it tacked down, get it welded up. There. I'm calling her done. Well, this is my second rocket stove in my little 20 by 24 metal shop where I've spent the winter doing stuff. I'll probably make 2 or 3 more of them. I don't know. It depends. The weather. The worse the weather, the more in here I am. Let's just say that. So anyway, I'm going to take this out and let's fire it up. It's really cold out. It's in the single digits, but we'll take it out and see if it'll do good in this weather. It'll do good in any weather. So let's go find out. Okay, here it is in the daylight, and we'll put it the same spot here as we did the last one, and give it a go. Let's cook something. One thing we learned from the last rocket stove build is you try to keep the air intake here away from the direct wind. I used the old kindling cracker to make some fuel. It's easier this way than the last way. Every time I look at metal stuff like this kindling cracker, I think to myself, heck, I could build that. I could make one. Didn't take much, just a little. Looks like we got it going a little bit. Didn't take much. think this door is the key. The last rocket stove that we built in the last video, it worked okay. But I think it would work better if I put a door on it like this. I just stoked it and I can hear crackling going on. Well, that's the smoke right now. Oh, seeing flames now. Yeah. Don't want to get too close. They shoot out like a rocket. Yeah, there it comes. Working good. See that? Let me get out of the smoke here. Oh yeah, it's going good now. Let's start to see if we can boil some snow or something here. Let's see if we can get some snow here. How about a big ice cube? It was easy to start the fire, real easy. I just, first time stuck this down in there, came right on, it came right up. That baby's cooking real good now. We're gonna have a rolling boil here in a second. Now, if it can boil water out here with this wind blowing 30 plus miles an hour, I hope you can hear me through the wind. And it's cold, it's single digits. And with the wind chill, it's probably sub-zero in a minus degree temperature. And it's working really good. When the wind stops blowing even a little bit, it really starts roaring. This handle isn't that hot. In fact, it's not hot at all. I just got little worker gloves on. Nope. This handle is not hot at all, even without gloves. So works really good. Really good. It's a nice rolling boil, steady rolling boil. I mean, it is a frying pan after all, but it would do the same for water in a pan. Anyway, I would say that's another successful build. And if I can do this, dang near anybody can, believe me. So, hey, see you on the next one.